Hello everyone, welcome to the BookVenturist. Today let us see what happens in the first chapter of Scarlet Pimpernel. Chapter 1, Paris, September 1792. During daytime, the people gathered around the guillotine to see the men, women and children being beheaded. In the evenings, all the vehicles will line near the gates to go outside to the nearby villages to bring the fresh produce to the city in the mornings. In the carts, some aristocrats will disguise to escape. Men would wear women's clothes, men in men's attire, and children in rags would try to escape France to reach England. Most of the time they get caught, especially Sergeant Bibbot of Westgate has a skill of scenting the aristos and catching them. Sometimes he would play with spray by letting them escape and sending the soldiers later to follow them and bring them back to the guillotine. Today, the people gathered at the West Gate to see who would Sergeant Bibbot catch, and they didn't want to miss the entertainment this evening. Today, special commands were issued to all the gates not to let any aristocrats escape the city. Recently, a large number of aristos fled to England with the help of a small band of Englishmen led by the elusive Scarlet Pimpernel. Sergeant Grospierre, who was in charge of the North Gate, who let the aristos escape, was sent to the guillotine. People believe that he has some supernatural powers because he and the aristos would become invisible at the gates. The guards would receive a small sheet of paper with a sign of the red flower, and within hours of receiving it, they would receive the news of aristocrats fleeing to England, saved by this mysterious man. The Public Safety Committee has announced a reward of 5,000 francs to whoever will catch the Scarlet Pimpernel. Sergeant Bibbot was telling his fellow guards how Sergeant Grospierre let the aristos escape, and he was drunk. A cart came with an old man and a small boy full of goods. He searched the vehicle and couldn't find anything, so he let them go. Half an hour later, the captain and a dozen soldiers came and asked him if he let the cart go. He said, yes. The captain said, oh no, we'll be sent to the guillotine. There were aristos inside the cart, and the driver was Scarlet Pimpernel, and you let them escape. The captain and the soldiers went, following the cart to catch them. The crowd nearby was excited by the story. His fellow guard told, Sergeant Grospierre should have checked the vehicle properly. Sergeant Bibbot said, No, there were no aristos inside the cart, and the cart was not driven by Scarlet Pimpernel. What? The nearby people got shocked. The captain was Scarlet Pimpernel in disguise, and the soldiers were the aristos. The crowd remained silent and feared that the Scarlet Pimpernel was the devil himself. It was evening, and all the gates were barricaded. The vehicles lined near the gates and were being checked. Most of them were driven by women. Sergeant Bibbot approached a cart driven by an old woman. He had seen her along with other women near the guillotine, knitting and gossiping with each other. Sergeant Bibbot asked, Hey Granny, what's inside the cart? She told, My grandson has smallpox. Some say it is the plague. You know how we react to COVID cases these days. In those times, people were afraid of smallpox and plague as there was no cure for them. Hearing these words, Sergeant Bibbot moved away from the vehicle and let her go. The old woman laughed. What a man being afraid of sickness! Ha 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 ha! And she passed through the gate. After a few hours, a captain came hurriedly asking Sergeant Bibbot whether he let any cart outside. This captain was not Scarlet Pimpernel. He was known to Sergeant Bibbot. Bibbot asked, There are a dozen of carts here. Which one? The captain said, The one driven by an old woman. Sergeant Bibbot's face went purple. Countess de Tournay and her children were inside the cart, and the old woman was the Scarlet Pimpernel. Hope you liked chapter 1. Comment on what you found interesting in this chapter. To listen the story in Tamil, subscribe to the Matchstick. The description is given in the link below. Thanks for watching. See you soon in the next episode of Scarlet Pimpernel. Tata, bye-bye.